Many Americans are struggling to pay their bills. It's getting worse. Oh. All right. All right, so we get more than half of Americans had overdrafted accounts to pay bills. Amid a widespread struggle to pay bills, more than half of Americans have overdrafted their accounts to do so. What's more, a quarter have overdrafted their accounts more than once. I overdraft my accounts all the time because I have my credit card as my overdraft. This is so freaking stupid, man. I overdraft my account probably every month, dude. My credit card is my overdraft protection. We're not even. My man Terry from West Virginia sent this. Apparently, some YouTubers online saying, "Oh my goodness, inflation's eating us alive! It's eating us alive!" I tell you, look, I don't like Biden any more than any of you guys do. I'm not him. I find this stuff so freaking stupid, though. Lending Tree. Let's just go into this. It's just. I already told you I don't have my bill here anymore, but I already had my electricity bill went up by $150, even though my kilowatt hour consumption went down by 500 kilowatt hours. I hate it. It sucks. Doesn't mean the world's falling apart right now. It could. If the Democrats continue on their crazy Green New Deal, yeah, absolutely. But I mean, can we just to make stuff up for clicks ticks me off. That's all this is. So more than half Americans have overdrafted their accounts. All right, so right here, more than once. 26% of Americans have overdrafted their accounts more than once. That'd be me. 50% have overdrafted their accounts never. And then 25% have overdrafted their accounts only once. Okay, that doesn't mean anything. When it comes to consequences of overdrafting an account, most of those who've recently dealt with a late bill know what extra fees they'd be paying. Yeah, I know what extra fees I'd be paying. None. Because of overdraft protection. Of those who paid a late bill in the past 6 months, 72% of their primary bank charges overdraft fees. Okay, my bank charges overdraft fees too if I don't have overdraft protection, which I do. You see how these words salad that these guys use? Just because you say my primary bank charges overdraft fees doesn't mean I am paying for it. I tell you, with these media fools, you got to read between the lines because they lie. All right. So let's start at the beginning. Amid rising inflation, 61% of Americans who paid a bill late in the past 6 months say couldn't afford it. So I can almost guarantee you that YouTuber is saying 61% of Americans can't afford their bills because of inflation. I can almost guarantee you that. And we're going to show you why that's silly. I haven't watched the YouTube video. Terry didn't send it to me. I really don't care. But we're going to go into this. People just don't read. Amid rising inflation, 61% of Americans who paid a bill late in the past 6 months said they couldn't afford it. So the first thing you should do is to say, okay, 61% of Americans who paid a bill late in the past 6 months said they couldn't afford it. All right, so first of all, you have a group of people. All right, we're going to draw this out. You have the Americans. Some Americans will say 50% did not pay, and I don't know what it is. We're going to dive into it. 50% did not pay a bill late. So 50% of the people did pay a bill late. All right. So we have to focus solely on the 50% of the people who did. You see what I'm saying? So of the 50% of the people who paid a bill late, 31% or 61% said they couldn't afford it. So in this simple case, it's going to even be better than this. It's of this 50%, not of the entirety of the population. And let's keep going. So you have to know how the media lies. So right here. In fact, 32% of Americans have paid a bill late in the last 6 months. So going back to my chart, 32% of Americans paid a bill late, which means 68% did not, 32% did. All right? So of that 32%, 61% of 32%. 61% of 32% is about 18%. If we take our trusty calculator, 0.61 times 0.3, it's 19%. So 19% of the American population over the last, so we got 19%. It's a magic thing if you actually look at data on income and stuff. It's always about 20% of the population. When it comes to about 20% of the people in retirement are not satisfied, 20%, 19% of the people are having a hard time paying the bills. So the newest, let's see. So 32% of the Americans who paid a bill late, 32% of Americans paid a bill late. Of that 32%, 61% says because they didn't have enough money. All right, so that's 19% of the population who said, not only did I pay a bill late, I paid a bill late because I didn't have enough money. In of itself, that doesn't mean anything. That just means you paid a bill late because for some reason your direct deposit didn't kick in at some point. You see what I'm saying? But even that, 19% of the population will say are struggling to pay their bills on time. All right, that means 80% of the population is not. All right, you see where I'm going with that? And just because they paid their bill late because they didn't have enough money to cover the cost, in of itself doesn't mean they're going broke. It just means for some reason at that stage when the bill was due, they didn't have enough money. All right. The new Lending Tree survey asked 1,600 U.S. consumers about their bill-paying habits. Okay. In addition to going over why Americans are paying their bills late and which ones they're missing, we'll discuss the rate of consumers who say they're less able to afford their bills. Okay. Nearly half those who were recently late with a payment says utility bill, followed by a credit card. Okay. 40% so here another one. 40% of Americans say they're less able to afford their bills than a year ago. Those who make less than $35,000 a year are the only demographic which more than half cite this. Overall, 62% of Americans struggle to afford at least one bill. Struggle. Where's this coming from? They're just throwing that word out there. Over 62% of Americans struggle to afford at least one bill. What does struggle mean? 40% of Americans say they're less able to afford their bills than a year ago. Okay, I'm less able to afford my bills. I just told you my electricity bill's up $150, even though I use 500 kilowatt hours less. I am less able to afford that bill than a year ago. That's a fact. Am I struggling to afford it? Of course, because I had to pay more for it for less consumption. It's crazy. 51% of Americans overdrafted their account to pay a bill. Okay. Well, that would be me. At 26% saying they've done it more than once. Okay. Americans late on bills say they didn't have enough money. We already talked about it. 32%. Let's see. Most let's see. 64% of Americans have paid a bill late. Now, we all have to. For those 32% of that 64%, their late payment happened in the last 6 months. I actually paid I just got an invoice from my freaking Verizon. I was short by $40, so I was late. It happens. In of itself, that doesn't mean a sign of a collapse of the economy. Rising inflation may be to blame. As 61% of the consumers who've recently paid a bill late, 19% of the population, says because they didn't have enough money. Okay, and then you're going to blame inflation for that? But women are more likely to be short. All right, so here we go. Right there. 61% of the 32% who paid a late bill didn't have enough money. 19% of the population. All right, what is the bill that hurt them the most? 23% of those who paid late in the last 6 months said they forgot their bill entirely, literally, or they mixed up due dates. We all do that, man. So basically, 45% of the population who paid late, they just forgot about it, or they mixed up the due dates. I just like when they say an addition, as if that's something to be scared of. Meanwhile, 36% of Americans have never paid a bill. Okay, good for them. 43% of those who earn between 75 and 100, and 41% of six figures have paying a bill late. People pay bills all the time. That does not mean anything. It's just stupid. Conserving energy isn't only good for the environment; it's also good for your pockets, particularly if you're struggling to pay your bills on time. I like how they use this word struggle. Struggle is straight out CRT stuff, dude. Marxist theology. Struggle. The struggle is real. The struggle. So the utility bill, water, gas, was a bill paid late in the last 6 months. And credit cards, the next one. In of itself, paying a bill late doesn't mean your calamity is here. It's freaking stupid. Nearly 46% of those who missed a payment in the past 6 months said it was a utility bill. All right. Well, now it's saying they missed a payment, and this one says bills paid late. What is it? Missing a payment or paying it late, Lending Tree? These guys are liars, or they're just stupid. In terms they don't know the writing. I'm not sure which one. This one still cracked me up. 40% of Americans struggle to afford their monthly bills compared to last year. I mean, I'm struggling to afford my monthly bill, my electricity bill compared to last year, 100%. If you want to use struggle, because it costs more and I use less, that's a struggle. But struggle's real. Late payments aren't the only impact inflation has had on Americans. In fact, 40% said they're less able to afford their monthly bill than a year ago. Yeah, 100%. I'm less able to afford my monthly bill than a year ago, too, because it costs $150 more, and I use 500 kilowatt hours less. Americans struggle to afford houses. Yeah, they use the word. Let's just see how many times they use the word struggle. Struggle. 11 times. Jeez, man. Oh, talk about creating a panic. It's just so freaking stupid. Look at this. Still, most Americans struggle to afford at least one bill. Gen Xers, that's me, are the most likely to struggle. Americans, literally the next sentence, Americans struggle to afford their housing costs the most. Overall, 18% struggle to pay their rent or mortgage. What cracks me up here is, which bill do most people struggle to afford one's due? 18% say rent or mortgage. That's due to inflation. Which one is it there, Lending Tree? How much of those 18% rent versus mortgage? You want to take a gander? I guarantee the bulk of that is going to be in rent, because rent's been going up. Struggles. Whatever, man. This whole thing's stupid. If you're following, look, you can be pessimistic all you want. I don't get it. I literally don't understand it. Oh, it must be nice, Josh. You have an upper middle class neighborhood. You got a beautiful wife and 2 cute dogs, and your kids are fine. Okay. Jealousy isn't a good look, man. Gratitude is a good look. Gratefulness is a good look. Get on your knees, pray for God. Thank you for his bounty of allowing you to live in the United States. That's all there is to it. And go get a job, then. If you're struggling, get a job. Lots of jobs out there. All right, we'll see you.